right, do we have everybody in, Denise?
Welcome, welcome.
Okay.
Yes, I'm letting them in who has more show up, so.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for attending for tonight. Looks like we already have a pretty full house. I see the number close to 40. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending tonight. Super excited about this one. I've been wanting to do a program on financial literacy for women for a long time. I believe in strong financial health for all women. So I'm super excited we're having this event tonight, and I'm excited to see that we have so many people here. So I just want to say, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Emmy Chilton. I'm the president of Austin Women in Technology, which is my privilege. Before we get further along, I want to thank our sponsors, because we really couldn't do a lot of the things we do as an organization without our sponsors. So we have Cirrus Logic, Apex, Sana, Under Armour, Clear Data, Charles Schwab, Acxiom, who's our host tonight, our sponsor tonight, Hot Schedules, PIMCO, Revel IT, and ShipStation. So again, I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining, and now I am going to turn it over to Shay. You're still muted, Shay.
Sorry, actually, we're turning it over to Janet to speak about Acxiom.
Oh, we're turning over to Janet. Sorry about that. Sorry, thanks.
Okay, so if you want to just stop sharing your screen, I'll share mine. And are you seeing my the presentation view? Are y'all seeing your slides?
We're seeing your slides with the notes.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
There we go.
Yes, there we see the presentation view.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm Janet Sinfio. I'm the Chief Information Officer for Acxiom, and we are also a member of Austin Women in Technology, and as mentioned, a sponsor, and we're very happy to be here today to sponsor this event. In addition to my role at Acxiom, I'm definitely a champion of girls and women in STEM, participating in this program, as well as I serve on the board of Girl Start, which I know is a sister program that AWT also supports. So thank you all for that. And so I'll just jump into the overview for Acxiom. So for Acxiom, we are a company that helps brands by enabling experiences for brands and people. We do that through data-driven solutions and really help companies drive business growth. We are a global company. Just to give you an idea, we've got locations all around the world, and in the dark blue on this slide represents where we have employees across the globe. And you'll see, including for those in Austin, in Austin, Texas, and lots of locations across the US. So what do we believe as a company? It's very important to us that in this world of digital disruption and change, that people are still people, right? And we help our clients work to ensure that they are showing the right experiences for their brand, and people who enjoy the brand are going to reward that brand. And so we have our expertise into helping companies really help their consumers have those great experiences. We are also very focused on our values. This is really at the core of who we are. Our associates, people first, collaboration, team is important, excellence, being better today than yesterday, innovation at the core, looking towards the future, and really focused on our outcomes and doing that ethically. Acxiom, dealing with data, is a leader in data ethics and privacy, and we advise many of the large brands on what's the right way to ensure privacy for their consumers. And of course, empowerment, and that's what we're here tonight to talk about as well. So this really aligns with our values at Acxiom. And how do we do that? So do you understand, like, what types of things do we do to enable that from a solutions perspective? So we have solutions around data, identity, data management, digital transformation, analytics and strategy, and as mentioned earlier, data and privacy. So this is really kind of a high-level view of all the different solutions and ways that we create technologies to support those our customers. So why do people go with Acxiom? Really because we deliver. We help the companies go from where they are, take them into the future, and our clients really love us. You can see that by a 95% renewal rate from all of our clients. Who are our clients? And this gives you kind of a view. You'll see some of the big brands that you know. A lot of times people haven't maybe heard of Acxiom, but you've heard of many of the companies, the logos you see down here on the bottom. So you can see we're in a lot of the Fortune 100, and our data is used tens of thousands of companies across the world. So, you know, major retailers, financials across all industries. And we continue to get recognition, not only from our clients, industry organizations, but most importantly from our associates on being a great place to work. And so just to end with some of the career opportunities that we have at Acxiom, these are some of our main roles. Analysts, testers, test engineers, solution architects in the digital cloud, IT or automation space, along with solution engineers, technical product managers. I have our career site here so you can see details. A lot of these roles are offered, the US roles are, a lot of them are offered on a remote or work from home basis, even after we enter, you know, we come out of our current coronavirus situation. So Acxiom is really well known for flexibility. So I will now turn it back over to Shay to introduce the speakers and panel.
Perfect. So before we jump into that quickly, we want to do one of our networking roulette events. So Denise is going to put up these slides, but this is a quick opportunity for all of us to, we're going to jump into little breakout rooms with just a few people. So please take this opportunity to introduce yourself, where you work, if you're looking for a job, if you're looking for people to hire, and then you can use these topics to spark conversation. So you're going to be in each room. It'll be 3 different rooms for 5 minutes each. So the first one is going to be, what made you attend tonight's event and what are you hoping to learn? And Denise will send us over in just a second.
I'm going to stop sharing because it seemed like it was not letting me do that for a second.
Away.
And there we go.
How many people are on for this evening?
It's a little hard to tell as everyone is rejoining into this main room, but I believe we're at about 50.
Okay, great. Well, excited.
Yeah.
Do you know what the question will be for the second room?
I do, but I will wait to share it. I'll share just a bit.
All right, I was gonna get some extra prep time.
It really depends. Oh.
Welcome back, everyone. Everyone will be trickling back in. Denise is going to pop up that second question. Perfect. So same thing here. Hopefully, we're going to get a different group of ladies, and you'll get to meet a whole new group. But for this next question, at what age did you start getting information and setting yourself up for financial success? Was this something that you were taught growing up, or was this something that you sought out as an adult? Everyone. Perfect. Okay. And our third time, you guys may have been in the same group 2 times in a row, but you just get to know people better. This one should randomize us, but if not, keep going with that same group. But question 3 is, how do you think we can help and encourage the younger generation of women to learn these lessons and start planning and saving younger?
Hi, Carrie. We're starting networking, so I'm going to go ahead and just assign you into one of the networking rooms.
Perfect. Well, I hope that was beneficial for everyone and started kind of getting the conversation going. Hoping that tonight's presentation and panel discussion will, open your eyes even further and give you what you were coming for this evening. So just to start off, so first we're going to have Julie Kustoff from Acxiom, who's going to be doing a presentation on why we need greater financial inclusion and literacy for women in baking today. Julie currently serves as the principal consultant at Acxiom, helping financial services clients craft marketing strategies to accelerate profitable revenue growth across retail banking, payments, and investment portfolios. Before joining Acxiom, Julie served as Vice President of Strategy and Insights and Financial Services Strategy Director at 2 major data management companies. She's also a graduate of UT. Take it away, Julie. Julie, are you still in here? Oh, perfect.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted.
I was just about to say, I think you're still muted.
I was, yes. So you didn't hear me say I started with I've lost 15 pounds, 20 pounds since that picture. But anyway, yes, I'm here to talk to you about the research that we commissioned at Acxiom, really to understand better what's going on with women. We wanted to better understand how women manage their finances and really sort of focus in on some perceptions and attitudes and beliefs on the topic. And as part of the project, we conducted, let's take it to the next slide. Okay.
Julie, do you mind putting that in presentation mode?
Yes.
Thank you.
Of course. The screens are a little strange here, but let's do
Sorry to throw kink in things.
No, no problem. And hopefully mine will come up right when I do it. Let's move all the pictures down here so I can see. Is that better? Did that work? No?
We're still seeing the slide sorter view or the non-presentation mode. Now we're seeing the presentation mode, but we're seeing your notes version. So if you can swap displays, that might fix it.
Okay. All right. I'm not sure I know how to swap displays.
It's okay.
Although
You can just do it that way.
display settings.
It looks fine this way. You're doing, we can just, yeah.
There you go. That's it.
Is that better?
That's it. Perfect. Thank you.
Well, you're all patient women, so something new we learned today too. Thank you very much. I was really talking to you about the research and why we commissioned it, and a little bit about the methodology that was involved. For the project, we conducted a survey of about 2,500 U.S. consumers. There were both men and women in the panel, and they were really recruited to be, a good cross section of the U.S. population in terms of age and gender and geos. And in addition to the consumer survey, we also interviewed financial services executives. We just wanted to have both perspectives within the context of the research. And I think it's important to note that we started this project early in the year, before COVID-19 happened, and its enormous impact on financial wellness for just about everybody. But it's unfortunately been exacerbated, when we think about the impact on women. And it's really, as we see it anyway, sort of deepened some of the pre-existing inequalities. Some of the industries hit hardest by the job cuts have been, retail, hospitality, tourism, all industries where a lot of women are overrepresented. Plus, we see, so many of the small business women entrepreneurs have retail operations, that sort of thing, and it's been a tough road. But in any case, we still think our research is compelling, and I'm happy to be here to share it with you today. You can download the report at acxiom.com/gendergap, and we'll show that URL again at the end of the slides. I've only got 4 or 5 slides that I wanted to share today, but and really the focus is on 4 key findings out of the research. And the first one is, how important convenience is for women. So if we back up a little bit, women really are in control. We influence most household purchasing decisions. In fact, 80% of consumer spending is the result of decisions by women, and that includes the way financial services are bought for families and to some extent for businesses. Women also hold 40% of the global wealth, and that is, of course, very significant. The finding, okay, my little screen here would move, is from this notion of convenience, is that really experience matters. I mean, all the research indicates that women want different experiences with financial services providers than men do. We require a different approach. It's just not a generic one-size-fits-all from men to women, and certainly not within the different segments of women. There are generational differences that have an impact. We, women, as learned through the research, and I think even as a consumer, I would say that I'm the same too. We need easy to use, kind of versatile technologies. At least that's what we prefer, because we want more control over our time. And, and I think it's important to keep in perspective throughout, our content here, is that our focus was really on understanding women in ways that promote their advancement, our advancement, and that will empower us. And the experience that, that we have with our banks and any financial advisors is really incredible. And it makes all the difference for everything within the context of here. So the first of 4 is convenience. Our second topic was collaboration. And it gets to the finding that women are careful decision makers. You know, we tend to take more time to make decisions. We study, we'll do our homework, we'll ask a lot of questions. And overall, women tend to be more risk conscious than men, in the sense that, you know, we, you know, the research says anyway, that 44% of women, you know, are learning more about planning and investing, you know, and consider that a top priority when working with an investor. We value personal relationships. That risk is a major factor, in the sense that we often might sacrifice some gain in order to feel safe and sure about our investment decisions. And again, these are notions that we think are important when you're working with an advisor, or even, you know, with your own self-education. Third of 4 here is communication, and that is that we're not as transactional as women. We prefer relationships, and we value, you know, one-to-one, not necessarily knowing the same financial advisor in every conversation, and that's a great advantage. But the notion that that there is some level of understanding, that every conversation doesn't start with let's get to know each other, that it picks up from where it left off before, and you know, and that becomes, you know, critical for the whole process. I mean, we certainly learned that women see finance as a tool for reaching family and life goals, you know, so that it drives some of the risk aversion and really the need to connect one-to-one with the advisors with whom they work. And the fourth of our topics or findings was about confidence, and that women see finance, as I said before, as a tool for reaching life and family goals. And we tend to, at least throughout our research, women tend to underestimate their expertise, and men sometimes seem to overestimate their expertise. You know, it's, you know, the value of financial literacy that gives us confidence, everyone confidence in the quality of the decisions that are being made from a financial standpoint. And so I'm moving pretty quickly here, but so let's talk about some key takeaways. You know, one of the, when we used this, when we had the long version of this webinar, we really talked a lot about the financial institutions in particular that we think are doing a really great job. And one that is having a big impact, you know, really is our first key takeaway here. And that's about the value of education early on. So teaching girls, you know, the, not just the value of money, but what it means to save, and why saving over the long term is more valuable than just, you know, starting one day, and how the market, if one decides to invest in the market, is up and down. I mean, all of those things that are so critical to really understanding how to grow money and grow savings. And then also to seek advice from trusted professionals. And you have many on the panel today that really, just in our early conversations, had some stellar advice, and I hope everybody will listen and learn, you know, to what they had to say. And you know, one of the things about the trusted professionals that was so important through all of our earlier research is that we not only seek out people we trust and then trust those people again to give us the right kind of advice, but look for the people who know how to communicate with women in particular, and that can be proactive in making those discussions meaningful, and know what questions to ask, you know, if they're not on the table to begin with. So, and then finally, you know, the whole value of confidence and believing in yourself and your ability to learn and accomplish your goals. And, you know, those may all sound pretty intuitive to most of us, but it's really critical for most women who are not professionals, and might even need a little more help than those of us on the phone. So I think that's the end of my slide. I'm going to turn it back over. Maybe I went a little quicker than I thought.
Thank you. If you want to stop sharing, we'll get perfect. Perfect. And so I'm going to introduce our panel for you all right now. So tonight, Kathy Nelson's going to be moderating for us. She's a senior business improvement manager and solutions analyst with extensive background in process engineering, adult learning, and organizational communications. She's currently focused on user enablement of Acxiom's unified data layer solutions. And then for our panelists this evening, our first one is Nicki Morgan. She's from Northwestern Mutual. Nicki believes it's imperative to continue learning every day as the financial services industry is ever changing. And she wants to help make sure her clients are not missing anything important about their financial planning. In order for her to best help you with your goals, it's important for her to understand your current financial situation and what the picture of your future holds for you. Ooh, sorry. Nicki is married to Alex Morgan, a fellow financial advisor. They run their practices as a team together for the last 5 years. Nicki and Alex enjoy traveling with one another, eating all their favorite restaurants in Austin, working on projects around their house, taking their German short-haired pointer, puppy Levi, for long walks in the dog park, and serving their local community. Our next one is Jennifer Elliott. She is from Ameriprise Financial Services. She is a native Austinite and attended the University of Texas Austin McCombs School of Business. There she received her BBA in International Business, and immediately after graduation, she began working for American Express Financial Advisors as a personal financial advisor. A couple of years later, she earned her Certified Financial Planner designation, and she has been an independent financial advisor for over 20 years now. Her specialty is collaborating with highly motivated clients to create a holistic financial plan and investment strategies to reach their goals. And then Stephen Babcock is our third panelist. He's from Benchmark Mortgage. He is a husband and father of 2 beautiful boys. In his personal life, he likes to write music and spend time with his family. Professionally, he's been a mortgage lender for almost 8 years now, and his passion is to help first-time home buyers. Before he started doing loans, he purchased his first home to later find out that he could have saved almost $11,000, and he wants to make sure that you don't make that same mistake. So if I can pass it along to Kathy, you can take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you, Shay. So, I gave Shay a pretty short introduction of myself. So let me just make a few comments here. I'm Kathy Nelson. I'm the Senior Business Improvement Manager at Acxiom, as Shay said. And I've been there for 20 years. And I'm super excited to be here tonight to get to moderate this panel, but also learn lessons from the deep expertise on this panel. I volunteered to moderate this panel because I'm passionate about women's financial literacy and financial empowerment. I come to this through some hard-won, hard knocks, real life experience. You may be able to identify with parts of my situation. I went through a divorce, and as part of that, I had to take a step back and start my finances from scratch and get everything straightened out and start achieving my financial goals. And then 1 year after that happened, my father passed away, and then my mother knew nothing about her finances. So using what I learned, I dove in and helped her figure out her financial situation and get her set up. And in the meantime, I'm a single mom raising a daughter. So I want her to learn about finances as much as she can, as soon as she can, as young as she can, so she's not behind the 8 ball like I was. So that's my personal reason for being here tonight. Basically, I'm an every woman who's made mistakes but recovered, and you can too. So it's why I'm here to facilitate the panel. As we heard in the presentation earlier, women have a unique set of financial needs and circumstances and considerations. And we have a great panel here today with deep expertise. We have 2 financial advisors and a mortgage lender and some great topics to ask them. Before we get started, let me just comment. I believe you're all on mute. And if you have any questions or if questions occur to you during the discussion, please just throw them in the chat. We will have time for Q&A after the panel, and it looks like we're getting started early. So, we'll have a little more time for Q&A after the panel. So what I'd like to do to start off the panel, I'd like to ask our great panelists, based on your experience and your perspective, can each of you speak to your approach in supporting women with financial planning? And maybe to keep it orderly, can we start with Jennifer and have Jennifer start the conversation?
So I agree. I was nodding my head a lot when Acxiom was showing their findings about women in financial planning. And I do believe that women are seeking more of a team approach versus us being told what we're going to do. Because we get that enough in our lives, getting mansplained things. And so when women come in, they want to say like, okay, hey, we're going to sit down and figure this out together. And we're going to look at all the things that come into your life. And that's why I mentioned holistic approach of, you know, how does my home and my insurance, like the other two panelists are going to talk about, work with my finances and my investments, and making sure that when they walk out, they're comfortable with the decision that they've made and that they feel like they were involved in that decision-making process.
My apologies. And Nicki, are you out there?
Yes, I'm here. Nice to meet all of you guys. I met some of you earlier, but whenever I'm working with women or my clients in general, I take an approach that's really twofold. So I really value relationship with my clients as well as education. So I want my female clients to have a really deep relationship with me, so that way both of us trust one another. I think as women in general, and this was said too in the presentation, that we desire to feel heard and to find someone that is truly trustworthy. And I really try to create that environment with my female clients, so that way we can facilitate a really great professional relationship and shared experiences as well. I also mentioned that I value education for my female clients, because really for me, knowledge is power. And so I can't tell you how many times that I've had clients come to me say, well, I don't really know exactly what I have. And then financial planning, those are like bad words, like curse words. So I want my clients to really feel empowered about their finances, and it really starts with education, and then over time our relationship develops there as well.
And Stephen?
So I have to legally treat everybody the same, but I hope that I would shine either way. But I'll tell you, the approach I take is to educate. I know that's been thrown around a little bit with the answers here, but I'm not kidding. I do try to go out of my way to explain that you don't have to do business with me for the education. When I missed out on that $11,000+ it was just because nobody told me, you know. So yeah, it always starts with education. You either show up in person at my office, which, well, before COVID, right? But now we do Zoom meetings. Starts there.
All right, great. So we've heard how women, you know, might have different needs, might need a little different approach. One of the things I'd like to ask the panel is, again, based on your perspectives, like right now, what are the top or key programs or financial vehicles you recommend that women should be taking advantage of right now? And for this one, Nicki, maybe you could start us off?
Yeah, so whenever we're thinking of comprehensive financial planning, there's a lot of things to consider, but one thing that we want to always start with is making sure that we're talking about insurances in our overall financial plan. So insurances are a really crucial part of your financial plan to make sure that all areas are covered. And there's 3 different types of insurances that are worth noting today in our conversation. The first one of them is long-term disability insurance. We'll talk about that. Life insurance, as well as long-term care. And so I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into what each of these are and how they work within your overall financial plan. So you might have some long-term disability insurance through work, but is it enough? That's a question that we always ask ourselves. But how this insurance works is if you are diagnosed with an illness like cancer or having some complications from a pregnancy, or literally anything that reduces your income, this insurance will write you a check every single month to replace that lost income due to you not being able to go to work. And so it's really important to protect your income no matter what happens to you. And life would probably get pretty hard if you didn't have enough income to pay your bills with, right? Let alone if you can't save and invest and we can't think about the future. Maybe sometimes if this happens to you, you have to move back in with mom and dad. And you probably have some coverage through work, as I mentioned before, but it's usually not enough to allow you to be independent if something like this were to happen to you, especially since about 40% of women will experience an interruption in income due to some sort of health situation. This is very, very crucial and very important to talk about within your overall financial plan. Another piece that we like to talk about with our clients is life insurance. Obviously, there's different types of life insurance for sure, and no matter what life stage you are in, my philosophy is everybody needs life insurance. It gives you flexibility, choices, and options. And just because a financial tool is related to insurance doesn't mean that a young and single person with no debts shouldn't educate themselves on what the wealthiest people in America are actually doing. And by this meaning, there's two different types of life insurance. There's term insurance, which is similar to renting an apartment. It gives you the benefit of having a roof over your head, but doesn't give you anything if you weren't to pass away during that period of time. And so a really great tool to have. But then there's also cash value life insurance, or whole life insurance, as some people may call it if you Google it. It's like owning a home instead of renting. It gives you a cash value that grows outside of the volatile stock market, can never go down in value once you've reached that cash value, and has no tax associated with it. And it really, really does serve a strategic role to access this money when the market does go down. It lets you invest more. And I'm sure we could all agree that wouldn't we all want to buy stocks that are on a 30% sale? I don't know about y'all, but I love a good sale, no matter what sale it is. But a lot of our clients took advantage of making a lot of money back in March, when the market tanked and it went down about 20%, because they had life insurance to view the market going down as an opportunity instead of a crisis. And so cash value life insurance can really play a huge role within someone's overall financial plan, but it definitely doesn't make sense for everyone. Just educating here a little bit. And then the last piece of the insurances is long-term care insurance. This is really, really crucial as we get closer to potentially going into some sort of nursing facility. So probably someone in this room, or everyone in this room, is related to or knows of someone that is in some sort of nursing care. And these facilities can be very, very costly, and they're usually, majority of the time, not covered by any health insurance. So purchasing a long-term care insurance policy can assist with the payments of such facilities. Planning for opportunities for your last few years in life is really a great way to protect your long-term wealth, and potentially also leaving a legacy for the people that you care about whenever you're no longer here. So disability insurance allows for you to protect your ability to earn an income, so that way you can grow your wealth, where when you have that wealth, long-term care insurance protects you from spending it down too quickly in case something changes with your health and you have to go into a nursing home or some sort of facility where you need care. So each of these insurances plays a huge role to protect your overall ability to grow your wealth and also have a really solid financial plan long-term. And I think this area really gets overlooked by a lot of people, and young women and people in general, because we think the best way to grow our wealth is through investments, and that's great, and we want to do that, but we want to make sure that we can also protect ourselves, so insurances come into play.
Great, thank you, Nicki. Next, Stephen, from your perspective, what are the top or key programs or financial vehicles you recommend?
Very different perspective, right? First off, can I just address one of the questions, or am I going to do that later? That was in the chat. Do you mind?
Go for it.
Andrea G, that was one of the greatest questions I've had all year. That was a really good question. Truth is, I know it may sound dumbed down and simple, but I just let the numbers tell me what to do. The question was, what are your recommendations on refinancing a mortgage? It typically reduces the monthly amount due, but if you've been paying on the home for 5+ years, you've already paid a bunch of interest. So what's, where does it become worth it? Usually 1% or more, if you can reduce it by 1% or more if you need money out. But there's not just a 30-year and 15-year, there's a 27-year, a 25-year, a 22-year, a 17-year, a 12-year, a 10-year. So you can get almost any term you really want and make it worth it for you. But I would just say get the answers by talking to somebody like me and then make your own decision. But top programs. It really bothers me that there are so many programs available that are only available to people that aren't making too much money. And so I see it all the time. It's not time for me to buy a home. I'm going to save up. I need to get that promotion for next year. And then they come to me and the interest rate's higher. I can't get them any of the free money I could. They have a higher, end up paying higher in mortgage insurance. There's one program that I mentioned earlier. It pays you a tax refund at the end of every year that you stay in the home. The average person will get about $2,000 to $2,200 at the end of the year. And by the way, if you sign up for a 30-year mortgage, you'll get that for 30 years in a row. Now, it's reduced every year by a little bit because it's based on the interest you pay, and you pay less interest over time. But Long story short is, I mean, it's tens of thousands, or $30,000, $40,000 for the average person over that period of time, is what it equates to. And if you don't sign up for it, if you're not told about it up front, too bad. You can't get it anymore. It's just not available. That was the 11,000 I missed out on. I'm very bitter about, by the way. So there's that. And then I heard somebody in one of the other chats earlier say they wanted to do a real estate investment, or they're interested in real estate investment. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name was, but I'll tell you, if I would have known this when I was 20, I'd be a multi-unit investor right now. To buy an investment property, you need between 20 and 25% to put down on the home, right? Who's got 20 to 25%, especially when you're young, right? But if you move into a duplex, you live in unit A and you rent out unit B, it's only 3.5% down. And you can use 75% of the income that unit B is giving you as your income, even before you've moved in. They just have to be already renting there. You can, anyways, well, you don't care about the caveats, but the point is there's a lot of different programs for people to take advantage of. And you can do that once a year, by the way. Move out, buy another one. I have one person that's been doing it for 7 times now. He has 7, has 7 duplexes. Only one person, I don't have more than one, but I mean, it's genius. It's genius. So I say start with the house. It's one of those payments you're making anyways.
Okay, that is great to know. Jotting this down. Jennifer, what would be your answer to what are the top or key programs that women should be taking advantage of today?
I always start with the 401k through your employer. Almost every employer offers a match, and it is free money. And it's just one of those easy ways to start investing. And what makes the 401k such an attractive way to invest is because, one, it's automatic. It's coming out of your paycheck. It makes it easy to budget around it because you never see the money. 2, the second reason that it's an impactful investment is if you choose the pre-tax option, it reduces your taxable income. And so what you might notice is it's not a true reduction of dollar for dollar of your take-home salary. So for example, if you contribute 3% into your 401k, you've now reduced your taxable income by 3%. So the amount that your employer is withholding for taxes out of your paycheck has also been reduced. And so you may be contributing 3%, but you only see a 2% reduction to your take-home salary. So that's a great way to not feel the full effects of your savings. The other reason that I really love the 401k option as a great starter tool is you can trick yourself into increasing savings. For the first several years of my marriage, my husband never got a raise, in the sense that every time he told me, oh, hey, I'm getting a raise, I'm like, great. I would log into his 401k and I would increase it by his raise. And he never saw an extra penny coming home. And he's like, I just don't understand. I don't seem to be making any more money. I'm like, I know. And you can just trick yourself into saving, because and a lot of 401k plans have the automatic increase option, where you don't even have to remember to do that at a certain anniversary, if you were doing 6%, the very next year, it'll automatically increase it to 7% for you. And are you really going to notice that 1% difference in your paycheck after the tax savings? And so, the biggest thing I always tell people is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you start saving? Do you just start saving 20% of your salary? No. You start small and then you work your way up and you trick yourself into it. So the 401k is just a fantastic option because typically there's a match, there's free money. You can maximize your savings while maximizing your take-home salary, and you can trick yourself into saving more. There is another option that makes the 401k and a lot of plans now also interesting, and that is now a lot of 401k plans are adding a Roth 401k option. And the Roth 401k option is fantastic if you're really not spending a lot of money in taxes today, because it allows you to make your contributions after tax, but they grow tax-free. And when you pull them out in retirement, you don't pay a single penny in taxes, not on the contribution, not on the gains, nothing. And so once again, it's a great way to say, hey, I want some pre-tax savings, and I want some tax-free retirement income, you can actually utilize both of those options within your same 401k. So 401k is a great starting place. And a lot of 401ks also offer target date funds or asset allocation funds. So once again, if you don't have an advisor to say, hey, how should I allocate these? Your 401ks have made this kind of easy for you and said, hey, I think I'm going to retire sometime around 2040. Great. There's a Fidelity Freedom 2040 plan, and I can pick that, and it's sort of a set it and forget it. And so you don't have to worry about the investment side of it, and it can either help you with taxes today or taxes tomorrow. The other probably most utilized tool are IRAs. And most people are looking, we talk about the Roth IRA, and the Roth IRA, like the 401k, is just another fantastic way to save money. Uncle Sam's already gotten his cut, but every dollar you save into there and every dollar that dollar makes, you receive 100% tax-free in retirement. And it is the best way to kick your poor old Uncle Sam out of your retirement picture. So a huge fan of using Roth IRAs and 401k plans for savings.
Yeah, and I will say one thing I do with my 401k is I like to trick myself, like you said, and I'll sneak up the percentage and I'll see, okay, am I feeling any monthly pain here? And if I'm not, I'll bump it up again. So, I keep trying to trick myself until I get to the pain point where I'm like, I'm really feeling that, I got to dial it back. So that's one of the fun things I like to do with my 401k. I'd like to shift to a little bit more tactical or practical question, and that is, what are some practical ways or steps that women can take to have visibility into their monthly income and expenses to help them improve their finances? And I'll go first with my example here. In my situation, what I started doing is I started maintaining a detailed spreadsheet of my income and my expenses. And every receipt, when you're out buying fast food or whatever, I bring it home, I enter it in my spreadsheet. Every email, you click, you buy something, you get this email acknowledgement, I make sure it's in my spreadsheet. So I track all my expenses, I compare it to my income. And this was a really helpful tool for me. Well, first of all, I became aware of everything I was spending and where my money was going. And I was able to start comparing it to industry percentages that financial advisors will tell you. You should spend no more than 30% on housing. You should spend no more than, X percent on your car. So I compared it to industry expenses, noted where I was way out of line, and took actions to correct that. And that's another way, I kind of viewed it as a game. How can I reduce expenses so that I can divert more money into my savings in my 401k? So again, tricking myself, playing a game. But there's probably other ways or maybe smarter, more efficient ways to do that. So from our panel, what do you guys know of, or what would you recommend for women to get that insight? And I don't know that anyone in particular needs to go first. Maybe Nicki?
Sure. Yeah, so Kathy, I love that you had a lot of intentionality around your spending, because the reality is if there's no intentionality around spending, then there will really never be any intentionality around saving. So whether you use an app, an envelope, the envelope system people may have heard of, or you carry cash, the rule of thumb that I like to go with in regards to saving is making sure that my clients save first and use saving as their very first budget item before they even pay rent or their mortgage. Make sure that you're saving first. This allows you to spend without guilt. And so that's just a good tip to think on. But utilizing a way to track it is really important. I personally and my family and most of my clients use the mint.com app, which is on iPhone, iOS, all of those places. But basically it automates and auto categorizes your spending into the specific categories. So that way you don't have to do the upkeep. Kathy, love ya, but I know not everybody likes to handle a spreadsheet every single month. And so it does the automated things for you. So every time you go to Ulta and you spend money on new makeup, it auto categorizes to your makeup category. So I really, really love that for my clients, because it really, really encourages them to, one, think smart about their finances. Two, it's always on the tip of their fingers, because let's be real, we're always on this thing. So they can check it all day long, and it does a lot of the work for you. So that's a good one.
And there may be some others. Oh, I'm sorry, Jennifer,
No,
did you start talking?
No, sorry, you go.
No, I was just going to say, go ahead. Go ahead, Jennifer.
I personally am an Excel spreadsheet freak. My family makes fun of me and they can all they want. I live my life by Excel. That's just how I work. And I'm fortunate that the credit card that I use and the bank that I use, they both have the feature where I can download my monthly expenses into an Excel spreadsheet, and they've actually already categorized them for me. So that all I have to do is hit sort, and I can see, okay, hey, what did we spend at HEB this past month? And I take a very sort of reactive approach to budgeting, which is, hey, what did we do last month? And then the decisions I need to make moving forward for this next month, because every month's going to be a little bit different. All right, summertime, kids are home, we're spending more on food versus other times, or travel, things like that. But I have been introduced to a tool that I have found also very fascinating, and it's called You Need a Budget. And it is a paid app. You can also download it have a desktop version and an app version. It too also, like Mint, you link it with your credit cards and it will auto categorize in categories that you set. And then you create your budget. The thing that makes this tool really fascinating and that I love about it is if you make an expense, I'm going to use the Ulta expense, and it goes to retail, and that expense puts you over the budget that you had set for retail for that month. You Need a Budget says, okay, where is that coming from? Are you taking it from your travel budget? Are you taking that from your dining out budget? Are you taking that out from, where is that coming from? So there's an immediate consequence to your action, which is, hey, I spent X amount of money, I went over budget. Oh, well, and You Need a Budget says, no, you're going to tell where else you're going to cut your expenses to account for that overture. And so that, to me, I thought was really kind of a cool feature of that app, that it doesn't just let you off the hook, that, oh, well, I went over. And to me, knowing where I spent my money and where my clients, how they spend their money is important. Not that I care that you spend twice as much dining out as I do, but how can you make important financial decisions if you have no idea where your money is spent? And 99% of the time when I ask clients, how much do you spend each month? And they tell me, and then I say, okay, well, you had X amount in your cash bank account last year, and you have X amount this year. I know what you made. You're spending a lot more than you're telling me. We spend more than we think. And if you stop and look at it and realize, wow, where are the holes in my boat? Like, I had no idea. And COVID kind of put this in, for me personally, I did not realize how much money I spent on my maintenance and upkeep between hair, eyelashes, nails, pedicures, facials, my dermatologist. And but seeing that and realizing how much I was spending and what that was taking away from my future. And even that $100 that, you spend on your mani-pedi, if you save that $100 every month for your adult life, how much money is that worth? That money, if you wait till 65 and you earn a decent rate of return, is hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's not a $100 manicure, it's a $100,000 manicure. Are you still willing to go get it? And if you are, fantastic. But as long as you know that in advance.
Agree completely. So, Stephen, do you have anything to weigh in on this topic?
I do. It's going to sound a little crazy, but unless they've purchased a home anytime soon, I would say don't listen to your parents. You go back in time to like 1983, interest rates peaked out at about 22.5%. Today, they're in the high 2s, low 3s. So back in 1983, the advice was put 20% down on a home because you can't buy one otherwise. And that was probably true. Today, you put 20% down on a home, it's usually only because you have to. Or you think you should, but the reality is, and back me up, financial people, please, but the reality is, on average, you can probably make more than a 3% return if you invest that money into the stock market or pretty much anything almost, right? Except for maybe bonds or something like that. So the other thing I would say is to avoid condos, especially if you're doing this for the first time. That's something that typically you think, oh, well, I'm going to start off small, I'll go for a condo. I got a contract today on a condo, and the HOA fee was $471 a month. So let me just put this into perspective for you. Let's say you're paying $1,600 a month on your rent right now. You can afford roughly a $200,000 home, okay? But if you were to spend $1,600 instead on the home, you're going to spend it on the condo, you could really only afford about $160,000 condo. So that HOA destroys your buying power. And it's just, quite frankly, not something that, well, it can be smart depending on your budget. But don't buy the home based on anything other than monthly payment is what I would say in terms of your budget. You want to be at about 1/3 your income for your house. That's typically where you'd like to be. In lending, it's 40%, but I never like to see people do that much.
Okay, great to know. Now, for the next question, I'd like to pivot and look at this from a slightly different perspective. We've talked about what women should be doing, but financial advisors and mortgage lender, what mistakes have you seen women making? What should women not be doing, in your opinion? And for this one, Jennifer, let's start with you.
Giving ourselves time. As women, we tend to prioritize everything in front of us. And we spend our money for our family, for our partners, for everything. And then we're like, oh, well, we'll get to it. When the kids are out of high school or the kids are out of college, or we get this done, or I've been taking care of helping out my parents financially, any number of things. And then all of a sudden we stop and we're like, when did I turn this old? And I have that every morning when I look in the mirror, and it's not giving ourselves enough time, because time value of money is the single, to me, most important thing with investing. You could have the most beautiful portfolio in the world, and have the most amazing returns. But if it doesn't have the time to grow and marinate before you're starting to draw down off of it, it's not going to mean as much. So it doesn't matter how small you start with. It is amazing how quickly things will grow. And I'm not a huge rule or fan of the rules of thumb, but there's what we refer to as the rule of 72. Take 72, divide it by a rate of return that you would expect from your investments. And that's how quickly or how many years it takes for your money to double, not even adding another penny. So, if I expected, a 7% return and I had $50,000, well, in 7 years, I'm going to have 100. In 14 years, I'm going to have 200,000. In 21 years, I'm going to have $400,000. And that's not even adding a single penny. That's just growth on what you already have there. So giving yourself time.
I agree. That is so key, and I wish I had started earlier. And Nicki, what mistakes do you see women making?
Yeah, some mistakes that I see a lot of women making is making decisions with a financial professional and not really having an understanding of what decisions they're making. So I met with a client one time and she told me, well, I have a Roth IRA somewhere, but I have no idea where it is or what it's invested in. And come to find out, as I got a statement from this individual, I found out that it had been sitting in cash for about 3 years. And not growing at all, not investing appropriately. And so that was a huge red flag. And so us women, we tend to not position ourselves to be in an environment, to be educated on the tools that we have, where I also obviously believe partnering with someone who values education and allows for a really safe space for you to feel okay not knowing the answer is really vital. And that's a huge mistake that people make. And so if any of you women in this room think, I don't really know what I have, then that's, probably a thing that we need to become more educated on, is really just knowing exactly what you have and what those dollars are also doing for you and how you're going to achieve those goals.
And Stephen, you've talked a little bit about the mistakes people make in home buying or real estate purchases. Do you have any other commentary on that?
Thanks for switching it to people. I was thinking how much trouble I could get into as a guy in a women's event answering the question of what mistakes women make. But no, actually, it's. I mean, I probably will get into trouble here, but I'll tell you that it's really heartbreaking for me because it's a very common answer, actually, at least with my experience. If you have been widowed or if you have been divorced, I can't tell you the number of times, and I'm a worrier. I keep up at night. I'm a very emotional person. I play music, right? So I can't tell you how much this just kills me. But I had one lady who got $2 million from a term life insurance plan when her husband died, and she waited 6 years to do anything, but just lived in the house, made the payments, wasn't working, and now she's got $50,000 left. She said, I don't want to lose my house. Okay, too late. I'm so, get a job. She's not. The answers are not fun for her. The widower that I have the most recent example of, the husband died 3 years ago, and now it's time for her to refinance the home because she's in financial problems. So we're going to refinance the home and save her more than $1,000 a month in her payments by paying off a bunch of debt. So it's a no-brainer for her. This will turn her life around. And we go to get to closing. About a week before closing, we find out that the will has not been probated. Who knows to probate a will? What in the world does that even mean? That means you took the will that was stamped, sealed, signed, delivered to the judge, and the judge says, okay, now it's real. Okay, by the way, did you know there's a statute of limitations on that? Like, I think it's like 4 years, maybe 5 years. I can't remember the exact number. If she hadn't done it, then all of a sudden the three children from the ex-husband, who's now, not the ex-husband, sorry, the widowed husband, right? One of them is a drug addict living in Houston, and he's homeless. You think he would contest the house, right? You're gonna have to get him to sign off on it now if you don't get the will probated. So as painful as it is, who wants to, put salt in an open wound? But as painful as it is, if something like that happens, the very first thing, maybe after the funeral, but you should do is seek professional advice to manage what you have before you have much less. It's just heartbreaking to see. Hope I didn't get in trouble with that answer.
Oh, no, at least not from me. And you bring up an excellent point. I would say probably another mistake that people frequently make, not just women, but is not having an estate plan in place. When my father passed away, he did not have a will. Actually, it's a long story. He had a will. It was 30 years old and it got lost. The lawyer lost it. So effectively, he didn't have a will. Now, luckily, he was in a state where my mother inherited everything. My brother and I did not contest the will, but it's so important to have, your estate documents in place. Once you've built up some savings, investments, you've got your financial assets, you want to make sure that when you pass away, it's going to be taken care of the way you want. Go to your descendants or to charities, however you want that money to be distributed when you pass on. And I know it's kind of an icky topic. You don't want to talk about stuff like that, think about things like that. But, I went through it. My mother went through it. I went through it with her. I feel so much better. I have a weight off my shoulders. I have a daughter and I don't have to be afraid anymore. Like, what happens if I pass away? And, she's taken care of. Money will be given to her at certain ages. And, it really is a relief once you get it done. So I would give a plug for that. Okay, so we've talked a lot about, financial advisors, and one of the questions I'd like to pose to the financial advisors on the panel is, what advice do you have for people who are maybe looking to work with a financial advisor for the first time, or maybe, someone's looking to switch financial advisors because they're not getting what they need? So, what advice would you have to people in that situation? And for this one, let's start with Jennifer, please.
There's a couple of things. I sent this to Shay, and Shay, I know, is going to send this out. The Certified Financial Planner, which is a designation, has a website, cfp.net, and that's charliefrankpaul.net. And on that, there is a search engine that says, find an advisor near me. On that search engine, the very first article, 10 things you should ask your financial advisor. So that is a great starting resource, cfp.net. But beyond that, one of the things, and it's the best question that I have been asked from a prospective client, and that is, what is the biggest mistake you've made with a client, and how did you fix it? And that will tell you everything you need to know about that advisor. And if they, we all make mistakes. And I know my answer to that one, and I won't share it because it is confidential, but how does your advisor going to walk through this? You're going to make mistakes when it comes to your investments. You're going to come to your advisor and like, I can't believe I did this. Hey, what's happened. We're going to move on from here. And so to me, that is just a good, insightful question into how do they respond to to conflict and turmoil. And the other one is really asking them, how do you work with your clients? Do you have a set prescribed, hey, here's the asset allocation, I work with everybody who has an aggressive risk tolerance? Or do we create a customized investment plan based on me, my needs, my risk tolerance, and my time frame? So personally, I think advisors who offer various different types of investments to their clients and lets their clients pick from that is a little bit more of a collaborative space than someone who just says, this is how I work, either fit in or, see yourself out. So once again, making sure that your advisor has different ways that they can work with you and different ways that they can work with your investment vehicles is really, I think, important.
Yes, super advice. And so, Nicki, what would you add to what advice do you have for people looking to work with a financial advisor?
Yeah, I thought of the last question where we said, what's a mistake that women make in financial planning? And I think the first mistake is not hiring a financial professional because we want to make sure that we're doing all of the right things to set us up for success. So I think that that's also tackles on the other one. But first of all, you need to like your advisor. I mean, we're basically going to have a relationship for a long period of time. And so hopefully you have a good personal relationship with them. But you want to make sure that you're working with someone that you can develop that good relationship with. They're also there to educate you. And you also have to agree with their philosophy around planning. It's really important to understand that philosophy around building wealth. So whether they are a comprehensive financial planner, as Jennifer had mentioned, making sure that they have their CFP designation, or whether they're just product salespeople, I think that's important to understand. You really want to work with someone who does the comprehensive planning, as they will look at all areas of your financial picture, so that way you really don't miss out on any opportunities or you don't have any gaps within your overall financial plan. So I think it's crucial to look at the big picture and not just one sector of the financial plan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would give a shout out to that site you mentioned, the broker check site, where you can check out the financial advisors. I know I've used that, and it's interesting. You can see things even down to what boards these financial advisors serve on. So I just was I'm a detailed nerd, so I was just drilling in and seeing what I could find out about financial advisors. And then Stephen, as the mortgage lender, I'd like to get your perspective. What are the biggest trends or opportunities, and we've touched on this a little, but the biggest trends and opportunities that women and people should be taking advantage of here at the end of 2020 and into 2021? What would you advise?
Wow. Well, rates have never been this good. I mean, that's technically not true. I think a week and a half ago they were a little better, but I mean, historically, it's the best they've ever been, right? So if you're going to do it, I'd say now's the time. Let me just read off some of the details of that program that I was mentioning. There's a program that will give you 3% of the loan amount on a home. And if you make less than $78,080, you can get the 3% assistance of the loan amount. So say it's a $200,000 loan, you're going to get $6,000 at closing to offset your closing costs. And right now, that rate is about 0.25 better than if you had an 800 credit score and were doing it on your own. So not only are they going to pay you to take a better rate, you get a better rate, right? And then it comes with, anyways, I could go on forever. The other one is if you're making less than $97,600 a year, you still qualify for that. Your rate's about 0.25 higher than if you had an 800 credit score, but you still get all that free money. That's what I would say. I would say, those are my two cents on that one.
Thank you, Stephen. I know that our panel's scheduled to end at 7, so we have about 3 minutes left. I don't know if in those 3 minutes, we do have an extra question actually. And so, for all of you on the panel, what resources would you recommend in general for women or for people to learn about personal finance, investing, if they want to start learning, start their education? What would you recommend? And for this one, let's start with Nicki. Since you're not on mute, I'll pick on you.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's an awesome website that I reference for a lot of different things for my clients, and it's called nerdwallet.com. Like, I am a little nerd. It's a really, really great website that provides research, and they've done a lot of things around investments, savings, credit cards, debt strategy. I mean, basically a lot of things that you can think of are on there. And if you're looking for companies to work with or advisors that work underneath companies, they've done a lot of research on what are the best financial institutions out there as well. And so really, really great resource. If you want to do some DIYing, then definitely head over to NerdWallet and you can learn some really great tools there.
Great, thank you. That was one I was not aware of, so thank you.
Yeah.
And Jennifer, what would you recommend?
I'm old school. I am a book. My favorite book is called Smart Women Finish Rich. The author's name is David Bach, Bach like the composer. And he did a follow-up book called Smart Couples Finish Rich. Both of them are available on Amazon, so we still have that tech side, and they do have it in Kindle version. There also is an accompanying workbook for the Smart Couples Finish Rich, which I think is a fantastic book for people who are just about to combine finances, or I don't know how to approach talking about finances with my spouse. It is an amazing book where you read the chapter, your partner reads the chapter, and then it has exercises for you to do together. And then you read the next chapter. And so you're evolving, and it's to help you to understand your partner's view of money as well too. So if you're not in a relationship, Smart Women Finish Rich, fantastic. If you are in a relationship, you want to take to the next level of, okay, how do I incorporate my partner in with this? Smart Couples Finish Rich.
Great, thank you. I am definitely gonna get that book. I've written that down. And Stephen, what would you recommend for people wanting to learn about, well, mortgage, real estate, that sort of thing? Oh boy, that look.
I mean, it takes half the section up of the self-help section, right, in the library. There are so many different books out there. It's not even funny. Everyone's heard of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and you know, lots of other ones. But I'll tell you, most of that stuff is, you know, let's build a fortune over time. And the reality is, if you're spending, like I said earlier, if you're spending about $1,600 a month, I mean, this doesn't work for everybody, but it's a pretty good general rule of thumb. You should really look into buying your own house. I mean, my wife and I lived in our home in South Austin for 6 years before we sold it. And it paid off all our baby debts when we did it and bought a car. And that wasn't, I mean, because we sold it for so much more, you know? And if you look at a long enough timeline, in you know, home ownership, that's what happens. They, you know, homes have gone down in value, but on a long enough timeline, they go up in value. So for me, and I'm a little biased, obviously, so take this with a grain of salt, but you know, I say try to get home ownership started almost as soon as you can, as long as you have some kind of stable income. And if you're working Joe jobs and you're right out of college or something like that, maybe now's not the time, right? But it's not as tough as you think it is. That's what I'd say. Don't have any reading suggestions though.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stephen. So we are at the end of time for the panel. So I'd like to again thank our wonderful panelists. Thank you, Jennifer and Nicki and Stephen. This has been super informative. I've taken a lot of notes. I have a lot of follow-up actions for myself. And now we go into the question and answer portion. And I believe, I'm not sure if Shay is going to handle the question and answer or who's going to handle the question and answer.
I hope y'all can hear me because I'm going to jump in. I got some great questions. Awesome. I'm assuming I saw some head nods, so I'm assuming you can hear me. But yeah, so I've kind of clumped them together because we got some really good questions. So if you're wondering why it's out of order, that is why. I wanted to make sure we got them all answered. But I'll first kick it off. Nicki, Jennifer, talking a lot about financial advisors. I know in the networking breakouts, a lot of people were saying this, they're in the beginning of their journey and they really just want someone to talk to and be an open ear of what to be able to, for them to do. So I know we talked a little bit about how to financial advisor, but can you tell us how much does it really cost, or how can you really find a financial advisor? If you're in the beginning stages of making money, how much does it really cost to get a financial advisor?
Yeah, I'll start. This is a great question. I think this is probably the first question that you need to ask anyone that you work with, because some financial advisors will charge a consultation fee, or they'll say, hey, if we meet together, it's going to cost $500. where other clients will charge a fee as well as an assets under management. So if they take some of your dollars that they invest in, then they charge a fee every single month, every year, based on the assets that you have. And then there's other advisors that will talk to you and work similarly to a realtor. So if any of you have worked with a realtor before, what happens with a realtor is you find somebody that you like, and then they show you a bunch of houses, and then you end up paying them once you purchase a house. And some of the advisors are like that. And so you meet with them, they work with you, and then you choose to move forward with recommendations on maybe insurances or investments. And then the way that those advisors are compensated is by the companies that they choose to go with through the insurance or investment realm. And so it's really important to ask your advisors how they get paid, and hopefully they can educate you in the best manner and make sure that what they charge is right for you.
I'll piggyback on that. And yes, like personally, I'm what's known as a hybrid advisor. I charge asset management fees. So clients that say, hey, here's our money, please invest it, try not to lose everything. And then I also do charge an annual retainer. And in that annual retainer, that's for the financial planning aspect of it. And so I saw the cost pop up in the chat. Every advisor is going to be completely different. And so advisors base their fees on several things. They're going to base the fees on the complexity of your case. Are we managing, you know, you have 10 old 401ks scattered all over the place. I'm trying to set up a trust for my kids and we're doing all kinds of things, versus I'm just straight out of college, or I'm just starting this path and I just need basic help. And so the range can be pretty great. And so personally, you know, it can be anywhere from $1,000 annual retainer upwards, depending on the case complexity of my clients. So,
and I'll, oh, sorry.
No, yeah.
I was just going to tackle onto that. The way that I'm compensated is similarly to the realtor example that I mentioned. And so my clients choose to move forward with recommendations, and the companies that we move forward with on the insurance and the investment space compensate me. So there's no additional fee in working with me as an advisor. Sorry to interrupt. I thought you were done.
No. I just, like I said, so asking up front. And so typically I think, and my opinion is, when you're sitting down with a financial advisor, they should not be charging you for that first meeting. That anybody that you sit down with, that whole entire first meeting, the sole purpose is to, one, see if you have a need, and two, see if I can fill it. Because if, one, you may be doing everything that you need to be doing and I don't need to get involved, or two, I can't fill the need that you have. Either what you're looking for doesn't fall under my expertise, so on and so forth. And so I think it's really important that you have the ability to sit down for an initial consultation at no charge. And so that gives you a chance to say, hey, do I even like this person? Am I going to want to meet with them twice a year for the next 20 years?
Great point. And again, I know we have people who are first job out of college all the way through. So Betty, I loved your question you asked is, if you're maxing out your 401k and you're making too much for a Roth IRA because you're doing great, which is amazing, what would you recommend next? Investing in traditional IRAs, or what do you do once you're like, check 401k, check Roth, what next?
One of my favorite tools, and you'll have to check with your 401k, is some 401k plans will allow you to make post-tax contributions that is not a Roth contribution. So for example, right now, if you are under the age of 50, you can contribute $19,500 to your 401k. However, the IRS really does let us put up to $55,000 into our 401k plans. So they count what you've put in pre-tax or Roth, what your company's put in your match, and then there's all this extra room. A lot of 401k plans are now revising their plans and allowing us access to that extra room. Well, guess what we now can do? We can take that money that you've put into your post-tax 401k contribution, and I'm stressing this because when you go in and look for verbiage, it is very important that it is post-tax, not Roth, not pre-tax contributions. You can, at any point in time, whether you're working there or left there, convert those dollars to Roth IRA. So it is a way to get in the back door what we couldn't get in the front. And it is a fantastic technique if your 401k plan allows it. And it is usually one of the first places I look if a client has already maxed out their 401k and not Roth eligible.
Yes, I love that, Jennifer. I agree with that too. There's two other places that you can generally put dollars if you've done the traditional IRA or Roth IRA and done the 401k. One of them is what we would call a non-qualified account. So it's basically just an investment account that can hold investments. Now, there's not the fun taxable benefits within this type of account, but you're eligible to put as much money as you want here. And so that's one area that we can leverage if we have excess dollars. And then the other place, if we especially are outside of the Roth limits, that we can put dollars to have tax-free money in retirement is that cash value life insurance or that whole life insurance. And it allows us to position ourselves whenever we do get to retirement to have some excess dollars that are tax-free, along with the Roth if we've had it before, or in the future if we do the conversion that Jennifer was talking about. But regardless, we have lots of options outside of just our 401k and a traditional IRA and a Roth.
Awesome. Well, and I know real estate is another way you can go. So Stephen got some questions for you. How do you get away from PMI if you don't put 20% down? And would PMI be more costly in the long run than putting 20% down?
So great questions, by the way. And let me just say, when it comes to what those ladies were just talking about, listen to them and not me when it comes to financial advising, right? Because I can help you with the house, but as far as the house is concerned, you don't want to pay it off faster. You really just don't want to. And that goes right into that 20% down question. So thank you very much, Heather. The reality is there's plenty of ways to get out of mortgage insurance, plenty of ways. And the higher your credit score, the less amount of money you have to pay for mortgage insurance. There's one way you can, it's called a single premium. Think of it as just paying your insurance right up front. If you have a 760 credit score or higher, and you wanted to just pay for the mortgage insurance up front, it's about 25% of the cost of what it would have been paying it over 11 years. So if you've got a high credit score, you can save that extra money, pay off the mortgage insurance, invest the money with either one of those two ladies on the call, right? And make a heck of a lot more money than you would if you sunk it into the house at the 20% just to avoid your $50 a month payment every month. You don't have to take my word for it, though. I have programs that can show you the interest paid over the years and things like that. I can prove it to you. But yeah, that would be my answer. I think let's see, what was the answer of the question? It was the 20% down. Yeah, you don't have to.
What about tax?
For you to bake it into the rate. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and I know Christine asked another question, and honestly, I had to look up what 1031 exchange was in taxes. I mean, is there any other advice you'd have on that?
So I actually started with real estate investments before I became a lender. So I'm actually very familiar with 1031 exchanges. That's a way for everybody who doesn't know, I'm assuming there's probably a lot because it's not a normal thing, trust me, but that's a way for you to buy an investment property. And then when you sell it, you typically have to pay a bunch of taxes, right, on that investment property. Well, when you sell it and you put it into a 1031 exchange, this is a clever way of saying, here's some paperwork with my sale, then you get to buy a like or bigger property and it's tax-free. So, you can imagine that, let's say you have a 10-unit apartment building and it's $2 million, right? And you sell it, well, that's a huge tax bill, right? So instead, no, let's put the $2 million into a 30-unit apartment building and I'll put a little more money down and we'll do it that way. And then you get to avoid paying the taxes. Well, that building goes up in value. And then typically the more expensive the building, the faster it goes up in value, right? Well, not faster, but compound interest, right? And so 1031 exchange is really, really, really clever if you're going to be a real estate investor, but most people don't want to be a landlord or do that. I would challenge you to Google the 1031 exchange loophole. There is a loophole where if you, last I checked, and they may have plugged this hole, but when you finally get finished with your 1031, all right, now we got to pay Uncle Sam, right? You get hit with a lot of taxes, right? And the loophole that I've researched states that if you can, let's say you buy a beach house in Malibu, that's $10 million at this point, right? Because you just kept buying more and more stuff, right? And then 6 months down the road, you say, you know what, it's no longer a rental. I'd like to move into that home. Well, then it's no longer an investment. It's your property and you're sheltered from the taxes. Now, again, I expect them to fix that pretty soon. because they're missing out on millions potentially. But it's,
Yeah.
I checked, but like 6 months ago, it's still around.
Well, good. Well, thank you. Well, we have about 10 minutes left and I got about 10 more questions. So I might just do individuals and ask you the question. So Jennifer, I'll have you answer this one. Is there a good rule of thumb about what you should have saved in retirement at different point of your life? Like, is it you should have 1 time of your income at 30 or 2 times your income at 35? Or is there any good rules of thumb?
I'm sorry, I'm going to disappoint a lot of people. No. I'm sorry. There is no rule of thumb because every client that comes to me needs a different amount of lifestyle in retirement. And that is your lifestyle and your cash flow that dictates how many dollars you need to have. So I can have clients that have, $1 million in their 401k by 50 and still have nowhere near enough to support the lifestyle that they want to lead in retirement. So I'm sorry. I don't have a really good rule of thumb on that one. The one that I really do stick with is just the level of savings that you need to do. And once again, this completely depends on when you start saving and the lifestyle you expect to lead in retirement. But just kind of think of this as you need to be saving somewhere between 10 to 20% of your gross household salaries. And I know that can sound intimidating. Like I said, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. Maybe you don't start at 20, you just work your way there. But if you're starting early, you really only need to save 10%. And let's say your company is giving you a 3 or 4% match. Well, guess what? Now I only have to save 6% my entire working career. If you're starting later, you're going to have to save a lot more because we don't have the time.
Makes sense. Well, what about life insurance? Nicki, I'll let you answer some of this. I know some of the questions we got were, it sounds too good to be true. Really tell us more about life insurance. And I know someone asked, Christine asked, if you have life insurance through a company and you leave, do you lose that life insurance? Index life insurance. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so if you have life insurance through your company and you move to a different company, you lose basically every single benefit other than the dollars that you've accumulated in your 401k. You should be able to take those with you. So you lose obviously your health insurance, your life insurance, your disability insurance, any other insurance that you had through that company, gone completely. So the best way to go about having life insurance is not relying solely on what you have through your employer, but look outside at other insurance companies to protect yourself, and making sure that you do have the right amount as well. And so the question also said, is it best to start young or do I have time? Having life insurance is dependent on a couple of different things. Obviously, the younger that you are and the healthier that you are, the easier it is to have, because having life insurance is based on your health and your age. And so when you're younger, it's a little bit less expensive, as well as it's easier to get because there's not as many health complications. Now, that being said, every once in a while we come across women or men as well who have some sort of health complications where they can't have life insurance. That's when we'd go back to the employer and we try to get as much through the employer as possible. I did see a question on index universal life. I will say that this is a very complex topic. I personally do not I do not recommend my clients to have index universal life, mostly because they're newer products. There's not a whole lot of historical backing around it. But if we would like to talk offline on that topic, then we can, because it's very, very, very complex, and I just don't want to get into all of the details. And maybe Jennifer could also talk on that as well. But it's generally not something I'm recommending for my clients. But whole life insurance, is it too good to be true? The reality is there's only a couple companies out there that really do whole life insurance well. So in some cases, yes, it's too good to be true. So you want to make sure to do your research on the right companies, making sure that they're really, really strong financial institutions that are going to give you the cash value that you need in retirement. Personally, I do a whole lot more of whole life insurance than I do investments right now because I'm young and I want to make sure to build those tax-free dollars that are not associated with the market. So therefore, they can never go backwards contractually. They will be there when we get to retirement, and they're a little bit more safe than putting all of our dollars in the market. Because imagine we all retire in 2008. What happened to our economy? It crumbled. So if you had $1 million sitting in an account, The day that you retired, you lost almost 40% of your value. So now you had $600,000. If we had some cash value life insurance or some whole life insurance, those dollars are not going backwards like our 401k is. Well, we can dip into those dollars, buy some things on sale in 2008 and view it as an opportunity, but also live off of those dollars as well if we need to. And so lots of education that can be done here as well. Think on the right companies. You want to make sure you're with one of the best life insurance companies in the industry in order to have this great and amazing product, but it does fit within most people's financial plans as long as it works within your budget.
Thank you. Well, I know a topic that definitely got our board group chat going was the will kit. So Stephen, I'll ask you, is there something you can buy that's as good as Prepared Lawyer? I mean, not to, you know, here we're talking about retirement and now dying, but are there like will kits that you can almost buy together? What's the benefit of paying a real lawyer?
I saw that one too and almost cringed. Actually not almost, I did. I cringed. I'm sorry. I have heard nothing but horror stories of the prepaid stuff. They may be great, and the people that tell me the horror stories are most usually lawyers in networking groups. So, you know, maybe they're biased. I don't know, but I would just go with I think you get what you pay for verbiage, right? If you start skirting around stuff like how things are going to be split up after you die, let's just say that's probably not the one you want to save money on. I would say, but you know, it's an opinion. It's not professional advice.
That makes sense. So I know Vanilla asked a great question that I really like too. If you're here in the United States on a visa, does that change what you're able to do with your finances, or do you need to be a resident of the United States to do some of this? Anyone feel free to answer that one.
It depends. It depends on how long if the intent is to apply for citizenship, then no. If your intent is to not apply for citizenship and to leave the country, it does make things a lot more complicated on how you transfer your assets and some of the tax benefits that you got, like 401k, for example, you're going to have to cash it out. And that could be a tax implication. So you don't have to cash it out, but if you're going to want to try to access it later. So it does make things a tad more difficult working internationally.
Good to know.
I have a guy I sold a home to last year with a green card, and this year we tried to do a refinance, and his green card had expired. So that didn't work. But yeah, it won't slow you down buying a house. So you just have to make sure that your expiration isn't due within 3 years. We have to assume that you're going to be here for 3 more years or more.
That makes sense. Well, we got 3 more, so I'm going to try to get through them. Can you talk about the impact of commingled finances when a relationship ends?
I'm actually working on a designation for divorce certified financial advisor. It is difficult working through these. If you're going through a divorce, it's slightly different because of the community property state that Texas is in. But you need to be very careful when you're looking at it that you're not looking at it black and white. So if you say, well, you know, we've got commingled finances and between the two of us, we have $200,000 between 401k plans, cash, and so on and so forth. Well, you take 100 of it and I'll take 100 of it, and it doesn't really matter where that comes from. And even attorneys will sometimes, divorce attorneys will fall into this trap of, well, what difference does it make? It makes a huge difference, because if you are in a higher tax bracket than your partner, then the Roth is more attractive to you because now that's tax-free dollars. And so the after-tax value of assets is really important to look at, the growth potential of those assets. Are you getting left with something that has a growth rate that's only going to be maybe 3%, and your partner's taking something that's going to have the potential of growing between 7 and 10%? So just being careful when you're looking at it, that you're not looking at just the here and now and just every dollar is equal. Not every dollar is equal. It depends on the tax implication, and it depends on the expected growth rate.
Makes sense. So Nicki, last one for you. Life insurance policies. Do you put them on your kids? Do you going to be for kids? If kids aren't income earners, any advice for that?
Yeah, so I would recommend getting life insurance on anyone and everyone that you have, because you never know what's going to change within their health. I have a client in particular who was diagnosed at 16 with a form of cancer. And, you know, we don't expect our children to have cancer at age 16, but the younger, the better. So that way we can protect them for the future, because that client in particular, who is, you know, was 16, was battling cancer for several years, was not eligible to have life insurance until a certain period of time. Usually it's around 10 years. You have to wait to make sure you have no symptoms in order to have life insurance. And so the younger, the better in regards to your children, yourself, everybody involved. It's a really great option to have, and I highly, highly recommend it for children.
Thank you. Well, last question I'll ask. I know we talked a lot about apps and everything, that tools. So we will send out this recording, and we will send out a list of all the applications that people were talking about. But I know Christine put one in there. Thoughts on Fundrise? Does anyone have an opinion on that organization or that tool?
Did you say thoughts on thumb drives? I know I heard you wrong. What did you say?
Fundrise. Fundrise. I had to Google it too, so I didn't know if anyone, I just thought I'd ask it in there. Well, Christine, I'll do some Googling for you. But we will now ask the question that most people come here for. Who is looking and who is hiring? I know we talked a lot about finances, but you might need to get a job first before you can talk about these finances. So if you want to unmute yourself, please tell us if you're looking, if you're hiring. You know Acxiom is on here. They are hiring, so we'll definitely get you connected with them. And at the end, stick around, and we're actually going to do a little networking session with Acxiom. But if you're looking or hiring, please unmute yourself and share.
Hi, so this is Sharon Leindecker from, well, I'm a board member of AWT. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay, great. So it's not advertised yet. We're still in funding approval right now, but I will be looking for an information security analyst, an IT information security analyst. The hiring will hopefully start in October. This is going to be for the City of Austin and with Austin Water. So you would be a City of Austin employee. Some of the skill sets I'm looking for is someone that has been in the information security realm for at least 5 years. Obviously, you'll get paid more the more years you've been in the industry, but someone that is familiar with policy writing and also kind of information security operations, firewall management, account management, access security, things like that. So those are the skill sets I'm going to be looking for, and I'll be posting that position on our Slack channel as soon as it becomes available.
Hi, I'm Dana. I work at Athena Health. And we are scaling up front-end developers like crazy. I believe we have 13 positions we're looking for in the next few months. We're not only hiring front-end developers, we're hiring a whole range of positions. I posted earlier this week in the jobs channel, and I already got one resume that I forwarded off to an internal recruiter. So it works. If you're interested, check out athenahealth.com or go to the jobs board and see my page or see my post that I put onto the Slack channel. And hope to see you at Athena.
Awesome. And if you're wondering what Slack channel he's referring to, we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. But if you're an Awesome Women in Technology member, you do get access to our Slack channel where we do post job postings. But we will make sure that these get sent out as well.
Hi, I'm Daniel Garrison. I am a user experience designer, and I am actively looking for work.
Daniel, get in touch with me.
Okay.
If you're not in the, if you're not in Slack, just reach out to any one of the board members and they can get you my email.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, man.
Hi, everyone. My name is Christine Stone, and I'm an enterprise SaaS sales professional. I've sold digital marketing technology, human capital management technology, and customer experience technology, and I'm looking for an individual contributor role also in the technology space.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shay Cuthbertson. I'm the programs director for AWT. I also work at a staffing firm here in Austin. And so we have a bunch of positions, but we have a client that is specifically looking to diversify their workforce, and they're looking for a lab support engineer who will support configuration services and work on pilot builds for their engineering team. So if anyone fits this description, please reach out. They're looking for women. So.
Awesome.
My name is Mandy Glasgow, and I am very interested in a position in somewhere in the software implementation or customer success space.
Awesome. Well, again, if you are an AWT member, I'll give a quick little rundown on that. But first, while we have Dana here, we have some boss ladies to announce. So if you want one of these fun shirts, our active members and speakers, every month we nominate and award 2 boss ladies, and you don't have to identify as a female to be a boss lady. It's more just you're promoting the growth and the support of women here in the IT market. So congratulations, Dana and Tammy Hunter. So we're excited. So congratulations. And again, we have some great upcoming events. And during the last few months, we have been having 2 events per month. So hopefully you've been able to catch us. We've been doing lunchtime events, and then we've been doing an evening event every single month. So coming up in October, we have one all about overcoming that self-doubt to having that undeniable confidence. Valera Wilson is actually an author on this topic, so she's going to be talking about that. That is our evening event on Tuesday, October 13th at 5:30. And then we're actually doing a self-defense course, both mental and physical awareness, on Tuesday, October 20th at noon. So again, if you are a member with Awesome Women in Technology, it is $60 a year to become a member, and you get free access to each of these events every month. So get access to 2 events, you get access to our Slack channel. We have 450 members where everyone is posting upcoming events, consistent communication, job postings, mentorship opportunities. If you need help with anything like resume writing, or really just want to pick people's brain on a certain industry, it's a great way to communicate with other people. It's not just women, it's not just entry level, it's not just people looking for jobs. We're a very diverse group there. So message me if you're interested. My email's on here, membership at awtaustin.org. I'm Heather Trumpfeller, I'm the membership director. But I will take it back over to Acxiom. I know you guys shared a lot of great information, especially the differences between, men's and women's shaving, wow, that too, saving potential over a lifetime. People want to stick around, talk to Acxiom about some of those stats, talk to them about the jobs. Is there anything else you guys want to wrap up with? We appreciate you having here tonight, Acxiom.
Thank you. We're happy to be here. So appreciate the opportunity, and yeah, we'll hang around. And if anybody wants to chat with us about our roles or opportunities or any of the questions that you might have further.
So for people who might be dropping, I just want to say thank you for everyone for attending. We had over 50 attendees tonight. That's amazing. That is absolutely fantastic. I want to thank all of our panelists, Nicki, Stephen, and Jennifer. Jennifer is my personal financial advisor. That's how we invited her to be on this panel. I've worked with her for more years than both of us want to count, but a long time. And I think she gave some great advice. And when it came to that, what are you going to do? The free money for 401k, I knew that was going to be her answer. And Benchmark Mortgage is my lender as well. I work with Stephen's colleague, Marsha Wiley, who is a great friend of mine. For those of you who don't know, I actually spent many years in the mortgage origination world before switching over to IT. And so also I can speak from personal experience. Stephen's advice tonight was great. So if you have to drop, we do thank you very much for attending tonight. This was a great event. I'm so happy we got to do this. And for those of you who want to stick around, come learn more.
And also check out the chat. Amy said that UShip is hiring, so she posted her LinkedIn in there as well. So for those looking for jobs, make sure you connect with her. but thank you for everyone for coming. I see some great feedback in here. I guess Blackbot is hiring for a UX designer. So Daniel, give it to Denise there.
That is exciting. Okay.
I had somebody in my networking group who was looking to get into UX, so watch the chat.
Yeah, and I'll post all of this again on our Slack channel if you're a member as well. And if you are a member and you're not on Slack, also message me right now so we can make sure we get you on there.
For sure.
It's great. Absolutely great. I had a friend who was in need the other day, and I was like, hey, I have a friend who needs this. Somebody was there within 10 minutes with help.
I had a question in earlier. I know I spoke with a couple people with Acxiom before this event all came to fruition, and they had sent over a bunch of research that talked about the saving potential and how it's different between men and women. And it was some really interesting statistics. And I know it had stuff to do on, like, you know, if you had maternity leave, or the fact that, you know, we live longer and all of that stuff. But I don't know if any of you guys can recall any of that research off the top of your head, but I thought it was really interesting.
Shay, and this was research that Acxiom had done?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
If not, that's totally fine. We can grab it later and I can send it out in the recap email, but just wanted to.
Was it in the full research report that we sent over?
I believe so. It was a presentation that you guys had just recently given.
Okay. I don't recall that stat, but
okay, no worries.
That's an important one, and so I will get back
I'll
to
find
you
it and attach it to the
on that. I think, you know, some of my favorites, you know, that I didn't really cover that are stats about women might, you know, might matter, might interest us, but it's really more to do with you know, how we can benefit and what it would mean. You know, for example, you know, we do have lower retirement balances. You know, we're 30% less likely to have access for funding to be, you know, start entrepreneurial efforts, new small businesses, and women entrepreneurs are really such a huge part of the, you know, the small business world here. We're 8 times more likely than men to look after 6 kids, you know, and that, although I love that Stephen has his little boy there, and, you know, and I'm sure that if he were sick, you would stay home with him. But in most households, you know, it is the female who stays home and gives up, you know, workday responsibilities. And, you know, that makes us, according to the research, more likely than men to switch a job for greater flexibility at home. And I think it contributes to, you know, what is somehow, I guess, a little less confidence, a little less of, you know, the kind of financial, you know, I don't know, maybe it's not just confidence, maybe it's true knowledge about how to manage money, how to build money, and how to grow it over time. I thought the conversation today about savings was really, really important. It's meaningful to all of us, whether we make a lot of money or a little bit of money. And it really is sometimes more about what you save than what you spend or what you earn. And so anyway, that's it, my spiel. But I'll look for some of the stats that I think are really meaningful, Shay. And I'm glad you asked. Thank you.
This was an amazing conversation and presentation. Thank you guys again, you know, for me personally, but I can see it in the chat as well that everyone's loving it. So
I think we've had more active chat tonight than any of our other like virtual events. It has been 100%. The questions have been flying. This has been more engaging, I think, than, I mean, I think we have a lot of great events, the networking we do, and the who's hiring, who's looking are all great. But during the conversation that we've had, just absolute great questions and a lot of engagement. So thank you to our speakers again for giving us such great content tonight.
Thank you. Great questions, by the way.
I did want to say one thing. I know most of the ladies that attend are in the IT world, but we're also always looking for women in the financial world. The crazy statistic I heard at a women's conference for my company was they were super excited that 13% of the advisor force was female, and they were excited about that. And that's sickening. If we look at the number of female advisors in the Barron's top 100 list, it's small, and that we have to have our own list. And I know a lot of ladies who are in the top 10 of that. And anyway, so if you're at all interested in finance, there is always financial advisors looking to hire staff, looking to hire associate advisors, looking to train. That we need more women in this field. And sorry, Stephen, but we also need to support women in this field. It is, like I said, it is really tough at the beginning as a woman getting started. And granted, I started at like a different time. And anyways, we need ladies doing it, and we need women hiring other women.
Can I back you up on this one just real fast?
Absolutely.
There's no women lenders. I've never seen one. I mean, I've seen like 4 in my whole career in 8 years, right? They just don't exist, right? They're like unicorns. And I had the opportunity to train a lady one time to do lending when I was first in first few years in the career. And I wasn't training on everything, but on a little bit of stuff. But the bottom line is we were at a party one time, a big happy hour, company happy hour. And a realtor that I had met and formed a relationship with, who had babysat my children, okay, who I thought was totally loyal to me, we're sitting at this bar, and this other lender, this lady who's training to be a lender, says, "Oh, I'm training to be." She talks to this, to this realtor I'm talking about. Talks to the realtor, and they have this great conversation. And the realtor says, "Oh, well, I love giving women businesses a shot. Forget Steve, I'm going with you." Well, I'm right. I'm not kidding. Most realtors are women. It is mind-boggling to me that more women aren't lenders. I mean, not that they should have a home field advantage, but you have a home field advantage. Let's not be stupid. You do, right? So. Yeah, what you said, Jennifer, definitely. Yes, we need more women in the industry, tons more.
We just got our first female financial CEO this month.
Really?
Not our company, not mine. In the financial industry, the first female CEO of a major financial firm just this month.
Saw that.
But that's it. That's it.
Well, we got some C levels in here with Janet, so we've got some.
Yes.
Exactly.
But we need you guys in finance.
Yeah.
Or we need you ladies in finance.
On that. I'll piggyback on that too. I think that us, and I appreciate you guys bringing us in as female advisors too, because as Jennifer mentioned, there's not a whole lot of us, not a whole lot of female advisors. And I do think that, to Stephen's point, us as women advisors, we do have a different advantage because there's this huge movement of women empowering women. And that's like the message that I am constantly sending to my own clients. I want them to feel empowered, and then I want them to go empower other women. And it's just a cycle of the beauty. And then Heather posted in the chat, one thing that I do say, and I wasn't going to say it to the whole group, but one thing that I do say to a lot of my clients is a man is not a financial plan. And what I mean by that is that we want to make sure that we are educated on finances and not relying on the man to take care of all of these things, because historically that is what has been done. And to Kathy's point, Kathy's experience, Kathy's life that she lived, I've heard from so many other women where they allowed the man to take care of the finances, and then they had to start from scratch. It's my mother's story. It's so many women's story. And so I want to empower us as women to think, okay, a man is not a financial plan. And the thing that is a financial plan is us making the move to make those smart decisions ourselves and doing it alongside our husbands. I am happily married. I love my husband to the ends of the earth. He's also an advisor, but he preaches the same things to his female clients, is making sure that they are educated on every single piece of their finances.
And on top of that, from the years I spent in the mortgage world, Stephen, I don't know where you feel, but I had so many female clients then that wouldn't buy a house until they were married. They made enough money. They were all qualified, but they didn't want to make that commitment because they didn't know what they were going to need in the future. It's like, well, you just sell the house then and gain the profits is what you do then.
Yeah.
But don't wait.
All that stuff drives me crazy. And Nicki, You're right. The example I gave of when women made mistakes, I thought in the finances, right, was another question. God, I hated that. But the answer I gave was people that have been divorced or had been widowed that had never ever thought about finances. That's a real life example I thought of during this thing. I mean, she's right. You don't have to apologize. You're right.
Right. Well, I know, and Acxiom, thank you so much. You guys have been such an amazing partner of the years, just year over year. Like, seriously, thank you so much. And I'm so grateful that this was the event that you got to host and be such a large part of it. And we got to have such engaging and interactive speakers and attendees. So thank you so much. I mean, any last things, because we are still recording. So when people listen to this, any last minute words you want to say to people or, really get that out there?
Kathy or Julie, do you have anything you want to say? Close out or?
But we'll post
All right, well, yeah, so I think, I mean, we just are happy to be partnered here. We always have exciting roles open, so definitely interested in continuing to increase our women population at Acxiom and supporting developing women in careers. So thank you.
Amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
Well, thank you all. All right, we'll get everyone's information out there to everyone, all of our contacts and members, and post it on Slack. So appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you.
Right.
Again,
Have a good
everybody,
evening.
have a great night again. Nikki.
Bye-bye.